You're listening to the Travis Makes Money podcast presented by GoHighLevel.com. For a free 30-day trial of the best all-in-one digital marketing software tool on the planet, just go to GoHighLevel.com/Travis. What's going on, money makers? Welcome back to the Travis Makes Money podcast, where it's our mission to help you make more money. If you're new to the show, we release brand new conversations with unconventional money makers every single day of the week. So if you haven't yet, please be sure to go to your podcast app of choice right now, including YouTube. Follow the show, subscribe there so you never miss out on an opportunity to learn how to make more money. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about how to make the most of your existing finances with my new friend, Scott Yamamura. Scott is an expert in communication and design with over 25 years of experience, numerous industry awards, and a Fortune 15 background. As a certified financial coach, he uses his expertise in forming creative, effective messaging to cut through the noise of the financial world and deliver a practical understanding of money to individuals through a financial epiphany. A native of the Northwest, Scott resides just outside of Seattle with his family. Scott, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Travis, thanks for having me on. Good to be here.
Let's go back in time, my man, like I do with all my guests. Tell me how you made your first dollar ever.
Well, first dollar, to be honest, would be newspaper routes and mowing the lawn.
Dude, that seems to be the theme of the day. I think you're in my fifth conversation today. And literally every other person was either delivering newspapers. I had two newspaper deliverers and I had two landscapers today. So you're just a combination of both of those things.
There you go. Hybrid model here. And then probably the more serious dollars, it's more like an in-between summer job was growing up active, avid skateboarder. I actually taught skateboard lessons at skateboard camp. So that was a blast. That was a combination of my passion, hanging out with kids, having a good time during the summer, making use of those summer months in between college. And that was a very good time. So I couldn't believe you could do something you loved and make money at the same time, which I try to live out today too, but that was the start of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think many people can believe doing something that you actually like doing and making money from it. So figuring that early on had to have had some sort of an influence on you, yeah?
Definitely, it probably got me hooked after that. I think I always thought after that. And in my 40-hour week job or in my free time, wherever there was free time, I was going to try to do what I love and move closer to doing what I love. I call it the dartboard, where at least you get on the board and then you try to get closer and closer to your bullseye and migrate in there where it aligns with that, making a living, but also being your passion.
Yeah, I like that, man. I like that illustration. I've never really heard that before, but it's something that I've talked people through a lot. Like for podcasting, for instance, when people tell me they want to be a full-time podcaster, it's like, okay, well, the path to getting enough sponsors and having enough listeners to be able to make this thing full-time is a really long one. However, you can be podcaster adjacent and have a podcast marketing agency or a podcast production company or a podcast repurposing and editing business that gets you into podcasting, not necessarily podcasting, but like you said, it's like getting the dart on the board as you narrow in closer to the bullseye. I like that illustration a lot. I'm going to steal it. Don't worry. I'll give you credit. I'll give you credit at least the first 3 or 4 times, Scott. First 3 or 4 times, it's all you. After that, it's gonna be me.
Free game after that. Yeah, go for it.
Tell me how you made your most recent dollar, Scott.
Well, I like to talk about writing this book that took 3 years, Financial Epiphany. And I had realized that myself, I had ignored money for the first couple decades of my working years. And as most people do, money is thought of as an intimidating thing that someone else is supposed to be an expert at, not necessarily ourselves for the common everyday earner. And so I neglected money for a while. And then I realized, okay, of these three things I'm not good at, maintaining a house, maintaining a car, understanding personal finance, I better choose one of these to start learning about. So I picked personal finance about 10 years ago, and I was like, I'm going to just try to get over this hurdle. I know you can if you put the time in. And so I did. And I realized it wasn't so bad after all. I think of it more like a wolf in sheep's clothing masquerading around as this intimidating thing that really it's not once you get to know it. It's something that is fun to have control over, fun to steward. I mean, empowering. But most of us don't have that feeling about it. We feel like we've been kind of whipped around and we have a whiplash from money being in control. Well, it's fun to be on the other side where we're the one managing it, telling it where to go rather
Yeah.
than wondering where it went. I think that's a
Well,
John Maxwell saying right there.
yeah.
So yeah, so it took 3 years to write this book, 10 years of researching and studying, became a financial coach so I could understand what everybody needed to know and where we are all our common pitfalls were. And as I was doing that, I started writing in the margins of books. I wrote in the books, maybe even more than the author did. And someone told me, I think it's about time you wrote your own book. So I put
Yeah.
that together and just released it. It's called Financial Epiphany just 3 months ago. And so
Congrats.
that's one of my latest dollars
Yeah.
is coming from just getting the book out there. It was never about book sales. It was always derived from, hey, there's this misunderstood thing. It doesn't take that long to learn about money and finances. Most of us are in trouble. The majority of us are.
Statistically, yep.
It's statistically, you probably know it. I mean, some of the statistics I have on hand are 78% might be living paycheck to paycheck, 77% in debt, up to around $100,000. And financial literacy is at a low where most of us are not passing that test. So here we are living 18 years learning about money, 40 years earning the money, 18 years retiring, spending the money. We are immersed in money the majority of our lives, and we're not taking a few hours to learn about it. It's the most ironic thing that we spend so much time on it, but we don't spend the time to learn it. So that's where I earned my last dollar, was going out, figuring it out for myself, and now wanting to help as many people as possible. That's why I'm here talking to you.
Well, first of all, you do not look old enough to have had 2 decades of experience before you did this entire rabbit trail. How old are you, Scott?
It's the Asian blood, my friend. 49.
49. I would have been like, yeah, maybe 30, 33.
I was talking at a in a gym at a middle school on Friday, speaking to 200 sixth graders, and I brought up the skateboarding. It helps. It helps. They believe that at one point skateboarded. So the young blood, it can come to my advantage at times.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. No kidding. That surprised me. You're like, well, after 2 decades, I ended up doing this. It's like, wait, 2 decades? What are you talking about? Like,
We've never thought.
It's like the majority of your life.
Surprises people every time.
Well, as it relates to the financial side, man, it's so funny you bring that up with the fact that there's just rules to the game. It's like a game, and that it can actually be fun once you understand the rules. That's why most people don't want to think about money, because every time they have a money discussion, it sucks, because it's from a place of scarcity and lack. They're having the money conversation because they can't afford the light bill. They're having a money conversation because they can't let their kid get that thing that their kid wants. They're having the money conversation because something bad happened and they're forced to have it because they're never willingly engaging in the conversation themselves.
Yeah.
But once you do, like you said, it can become like an actual game. Like, just like people spend hours and hours and hours playing Candy Crush to earn coins or whatever to get the new level unlocked. People have spent a decade playing GTA, figuring out how to build wealth in Grand Theft Auto. And it's like life, it's the same thing. It's a little bit maybe less fun at first. It's a little bit more difficult to figure it out, sure. But it is a game. And if you can figure out the rules to the game and how the game is coded to be played, then you can figure out your highest chance of success and turn it into your own game, where you start looking at your account balance just like you would in a video game and wondering, well, how do I keep making this thing go up? Ooh, I tried this side mission, and on that mission I made $1,200 by whatever, flipping this car or something like that, or I bought this couch for $200 and sold it for 700. Cool, this side mission gave me an extra $500, and I can take that and pay down my debt, a little bit more effectively. Or, oh, it's weird that I find I keep being so penalized when I'm on my 5th car in 3 years. It's like, okay, well, maybe that's a trap of the game to get me to go spend money on this thing that doesn't actually increase anything to my life. You know what I mean? It all works the same way as a regular game does. It's just most people they're not willing to have the conversation until they have to have the conversation because it's something bad, which only reinforces their belief that it's bad to begin with. And it's just this never ending cycle of never having enough. And constantly being in debt. And like you said at the beginning, the numbers prove it.
There's a way to gamify it, just like you say. And one of the sayings I have is instant gratification lasts a day, but financial wellness is gratifying every day.
Mm.
And by that, once you start winning the game, you don't actually need to go spend money to feel good. It's just knowing that the money's doing its thing, healthily growing, putting you and your family at peace. Maybe even you can put others at peace because you've got enough inventory and surplus with your finances that you can be purposeful with it. So I like to say that, yeah, you can get purposeful with your money because it's just you're in a healthy place. But yeah, once again, our first interface with money for the common day person, it's not a good one. There's a lot of guilt, shame, and regret usually involved. We finally get to that point where we need to deal with it. By that point, we may have been doing the wrong thing for quite some time.
Yeah, where can people start, man? What are the basics? What do people need to know in order to start getting their financial house in order?
Yeah. So one of the chapters in my book that's early, before I get to the good stuff, the tools where I really empower people, you gotta kind of clean up the room first, right? Before we start decorating and making it look right. And so I say that there is a path, I call it snares and traps. And by using those terms very intentionally, it's telling people if you don't have a plan for your money, it's coming for you. The world has a plan for your money if you don't. And so I like to talk about really simply the 5 C's of financial debt. So you've got card, car, college, condo, and cake. And it's meant to be really easy to remember so that okay, by the time I turn 18, credit cards are coming for me. There's going to be applications in the mail. I'm going to go to the college campus and they may be trying to get me signed up for this thing with a 20+% interest rate if I'm a revolver and this balance rolls over from month to month. Car loans. We all think that we need to get a car with a loan and we need to be spending more than what we have. It's possible to buy used or save up first by having a sinking fund. And so college, same thing. We can get an equal education out of state, in state, potentially, or we could work a job, or we could just get something that's affordable and not have to be in $100,000 of college debt, which will weigh you down during your most critical money multiplying years when you start your job. So these things are coming for us. I do need to explain cake also. By cake, as one of the 5 C's, I mean wedding cake, but also travel, experiencing things like this. Average wedding costs about $30,000, $10,000 borrowed. So what I'm saying is with each one of these things that's coming for us, try to take a non-debt route or
Yeah.
low borrowing because they will eat up all your money and not spit it back out at you if you allow it to take out of your pockets. And so what I'm saying is play a good defense because if you do choose to go to higher learning and you are out at age 22, if you played a good defense, you're ready for offense now. But most of us are playing defense for a decade or more after we get out of college because we got our college loan, we got our car loan, we got credit card debt, we've got all sorts of things. And then coming knocking on the door is that wedding cake. And then if we get ourselves a condo, one of the 5 C's, we might be getting house poor by trying to impress others by buying more than what we can really afford. We can always build up and upgrade our life later, but we need to start out really humbly where we really, really are,
Well, it's a great way
without
to
debt.
it's a great way to say that if you don't build a plan, then you just succumb to the plan that the universe has for your money, which is never to go back into your pocket.
That's right.
I think the last stat that I saw was we see upwards of 8,000 marketing messages a day or something like
Yeah.
that. It was a wild number. And
Wow.
it makes sense if you think through, scrolling on social, commercials on TV, billboards you drive by, radio ads, like you're getting inundated with marketing that's telling you you're not enough and that their product and service will be the thing that finally makes you feel like you are enough. And if you don't
Mhm.
have a plan to say no to those things ahead of time, it can be really easy just to spiral and start spending on things to fill some inner void that it's never going to fill, and it's only going to make you feel worse, and then you're just going to be
Yeah.
in more debt. And
Yeah.
those types of decisions can be the ones that are either crippling for your financial future or can actually help you get started along the correct path. What are some of like the more wasteful categories that you see people spending on?
Yeah, so definitely they're going to be categorized under those five C's. So credit card debt is very common. $6,000 is the average amount rolling over from month to month, and we're called revolvers if we do that. And revolvers are responsible for 90% of the earnings of credit card companies out there. And those who pay
Wow.
off, yeah, those who pay off their credit card each year because of the merchant transaction fee, we're only responsible for 10% of what credit card companies make, even though it's like a half-half split with number of people. So you get that, yeah,
Tell really, really
revolvers,
quick before
yeah,
you move into the next thing.
sure,
Explain what revolving credit is. Like these are the
yeah,
things. These are the things that we never learned in school, and the only reason why people
yeah,
like me and you know them is just because we've
yeah.
been inundated ourselves in this world. But it's a
Mhm.
it's a travesty that most people don't even know how their credit card works.
That's right. Yeah. So we're supposed to pay our credit card off every month when the bill is due. And many of us believe that we don't have to do that. And when we don't do that and we let money revolve and flow into that next month, it's borrowed money at that point, and it could be charged a 20 some percent or more interest rate on that, which is very high. And we should avoid that at all costs. And that keeps happening month after month after month after month. If we're looking to grow our money, we're actually growing someone else's money instead. And
Right.
we're losing at a faster rate than we absolutely should. And so by saying that example, let's live within our means. And that is a very, very classic saying. And it's so hard to do so because 8 out of 10 people are not doing that. We're all sitting on the edge of the cliff together. We think it's okay to be spending, but as we know, a pandemic, a loss of a job, any sort of disruptor can crumble the edge of that cliff, and there we go. I'm saying step back from that cliff, spend less than you make, have an emergency fund. Some people like 6 months of expenses saved in their account, others like a year. And we've learned some lessons about where a year of expenses and savings in the bank account might be a good idea. But yeah, so that's revolving. Credit card, I highly recommend. I like having a credit card myself, super convenient. But spending less than and so you don't have to borrow on that card each month. Really keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, it's not just a flat 25% or whatever your interest rate is. That's the thing that I think a lot of people don't get, because they're in their mind, it might not seem like that much money. It's like, oh, I'm making a purchase of this, whatever, $2,000 TV. Well,
Yeah,
25% of $2,000, like quick math is $400 or $500.
yeah,
So 25%, 2,000, I pay $500 interest. So I'm going to pay $2,500 for this TV. It's like, no, because what you're going to do is you're going to make the minimum payment. And then
yeah,
your minimum payment of whatever that, percentage of the total is, maybe it's 1% of the balance that you have on the card is, $25, $30 or something like that, that you're going to be making the payment for. Well, like 60% of that minimum payment is your interest payment. You're doing almost nothing to take the principal down on that. And if you continue to make that minimum payment, you're going to be paying a lot more than $250 or whatever that is, or $500 for that, for the interest on that item. It continues to stack and increase over time,
mhm,
just like compounding in the markets works for you.
yep,
Compounding
yep.
on a credit card works against you, but to a much, much higher degree because the interest rates are so astronomically high.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Albert Einstein is credited as saying, although most would say that he's not, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. It's this misunderstood, underutilized thing. It's so amazing. Those who understand it make it, those who don't pay it. And that's what you're getting at is we don't understand how money multiplies. We're helping others multiply it because someone out there knows how this works, knows how the game works, and they're going to ask you to help them out if you don't do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's why it comes down to like the first way to make more money is to just look at what you're currently doing and stop spending as much.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Like you have to get, again,
First
you have
step.
to get your financial house in order. You have to actually make a budget. You got to tell your money where to go, or else it'll go somewhere else
Yeah.
without you even thinking about it. And
Hmm.
then you got to remain disciplined to a degree to make that happen. And if you're in a bunch of high interest debt, you have to pay that debt down, because
Yeah.
investing, like, you shouldn't be investing in anything if you're paying 27% interest on something right now, because nothing that you
Yeah.
find that's legal is going to pay you 27% interest as an investment. So, like, you got to
Yeah.
get that
Yeah.
debt down first. But assuming we're talking to some
Right.
people, Scott, who maybe they have the emergency account, they got some
Yeah.
money in savings, they're being
Yeah.
disciplined, sticking to a budget, and they're looking at, how do I go make more money? How do I go put my money
Yeah.
to work for me? What would they do?
Yeah. No, that's great. And while you're talking there, I was saying, yeah, stop the bleeding, plug up the hole in the boat, before you try to use that boat to go somewhere, plug up the hole first. Otherwise, you're just running in circles, chasing your own tail. So, okay, so let's say people are in a good place. Either they've gotten past their debt, or maybe their parents taught them early and helped them start out at the starting line, right at the starting line, rather than behind it, which is more common. Um, so I have a set of teachings that are so simple. I've been using them. I wish I knew them when I started working. I've been using it for 10 years. It's been working. So what I like to tell people is this: since money is overwhelming and most people are not getting it, once again, financial literacy is low. All we need to do is target people with exactly what they need to know to take action. And as I've seen people learn just these principles and take action, it's awesome because they can kind of ignore the rest. And then once you actually see your money grow and you get to a place of health, then you can advance further. But this is how it works. To make money sit still so it's not running circles around us, there's just three things that I ask people to know. Okay, the most common age to start a career is age 22. The most common length of a career is 40 years. One of the most common rates of return on invested money is 7.2%. And I'll explain all that. Now, when we invest money into a common thing like a 401k retirement plan, individual retirement account for retirement savings, or a brokerage account, stocks, bonds, index funds, mutual funds. These are all common ways to invest money where it's going to grow and get that potential 7.2% interest rate. And the magic behind that number is if you're in a fairly paltry zero point 0.1 or less percent interest earning bank account, that money may take 7,000 years to double.
Wow.
7,000 years. But if it's earning a 7.2% interest rate, it's doubling every 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I like 7.2 is because it's a fairly achievable return on your money every year. So $1,000 is going to have $1,072 the next year, and then that new larger amount gets 7.2 built on and on and on. There's that compounding effect we're talking about. Is that after 10 years, that $1,000 turns to 2,000. And that is the easiest math. And if we're not getting money, we need the simplest understanding of it. Money, in terms of doubling, is the foundation you can use for understanding investing for the rest of your life. You don't have to learn anything new. I highly recommend that you eventually do. But you no longer have to rely on a calculator or a financial advisor at every turn. Okay, so money doubling, that is the foundation. And then I call that the first financial epiphany, just understanding that if I put in $1,000 now, 10 years later, it could be 2,000. But who works for 10 years in their life? Most of us average going to work 40 years. So why don't we look at that doubling four times? Okay, so 1,000 turns to 2,000. 10 years later, it's 4,000, 8,000, $16,000. Let's look at our whole career. All right, so if I put in $1,000 when I start working, that's worth it because it turns into $16,000 later. We now understand the input. We now understand the output. And here's the other thing about that is most people know what an exponential growth chart looks like. It's a chart that starts out really shallow. Nothing's happening. I'm putting in money. Nothing's happening, next week, next month, barely any movement. But when we invest for years and years and years, it grows faster and faster and faster. It almost looks untrue or magical because exponential growth, it's not additive, it's multiplying and it's multiplying upon multiplying upon multiplying. And so, but even though that happens and people see this chart where I put in money and it grows really, really, really steeply, at the end of that chart, at the end of our race before we retire, it still doesn't cause us to invest. We are now-minded people,
Yeah.
and this is a later-minded chart. Saving and investing is later-minded. And so when I was sitting at my dining room table one day and I was thinking about how people I know, I'm like, how come I get excited about this, but how come the majority of people don't get excited about money turning into more and more and more money later? And I was like, it's because they're now-minded. And so did what I call flip the chart. I took that exponential chart and I just flipped it on its axis. And then when it was steepest now, what that does is it tells someone you have the power of 16 now. It's not that your money is going to multiply by 16 later. That'll happen. But you have this ability, the power to multiply money by 6 times. Now there's ownership. It's like you're an athlete that has this window of time to use your athletic ability. And just like physical athletics, it's going to diminish in time.
Mm-hmm.
It's called exponential decay when your multiplying power actually halves every 10 years. So if you have the power of 16 at age 22, 10 years later at 32, it's the power of 8. 10 years later at 42, it's the power of 4. At age 52, power of 2. And then most people are retiring in their 60s. When you realize that your money multiplying power is halving every 10 years, you're way more likely to engage early because you're like, wow, I have the power of 16 now. You're saying only the power of 8, 10 years later. I'm going to actually make sacrifices to make that happen now. And what I want to tell people is that diminishing effect, that diminishing multiplying power for the average worker, average earner, average investor, that's just kind of how money works in general. If you're not the entrepreneurial type, if you're going with the flow, the tools that we have. And so when you learn that, you actually have the urgency and understanding now to take action and take action early. So those are the rules of thumb I tell people, and they didn't realize that money could be understood that way. And I'm seeing people jump on it and take confident action now when there was just a feeling of floating in space, not knowing which way was up, which way was down with money.
Financial Epiphany. This is Scott's book that he took 3 years of his life to work on. And that's just 3 years that he was working on the book. Really, it's a book that's written on the decades of experience that he had that we've officially learned he's actually in his 40s. It's all of the stuff that he's done over the last few decades and then worked on compiling that for a few years. And now it's there for you guys to consume. So go pick up a copy of Financial Epiphany by Scott Yamamura. I'm sure you will not regret that. Scott, thanks for taking the time to join me on the show today, my man. I've had a really, really great conversation with you. Everybody else listening, tuning in, remember, money only solves your money problems, but it's a little bit easier to solve the rest of your problems if you got some money in the bank. So let's solve that problem first here on the Travis Makes Money podcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch you next time. Peace out.